Good morning, grade sixes, and welcome back to your English lesson. I have been thinking about you a lot. I'm wondering how you're coping with the lockdown being extended by another 2 weeks, and we don't know if that is going to then be extended further. And I'm wondering what you're thinking about. I know that we did our diary writing a couple of days ago, and I was wondering if any of you would love to share your thoughts with me. I'd love to just see a piece of your diary writing. I'm happy for you just to take a photo and send it to me on an email. The email address is grade6@worksheetcloud.com. Please just remember to put there grade 6 English as your subject line. So then obviously when we get all the emails, we know that you're talking specifically about English. And I'd love to read them, and I will respond as soon as I see them. So just want to thank you guys for joining us again, and we're going to jump straight into our lesson overview. We always start with a daily starter, and then today we're going to look at onomatopoeia and alliteration. I've joined those two together. They're called sound devices, and they are figurative language devices, but specifically to do with sound. And then we're going to look at personification. If you haven't seen the previous lesson, which is Figurative Language Part 1, I do suggest you watch that first before you watch this lesson. So looking at our daily starter, look at that picture. I want you to think about where or what does this lead to. What's happening in the picture? What do you think is going to happen next? Who are these people? What are they doing? Use your imagination, come up with a whole lot of ideas, and then we'll come back together. So pause, make sure you got your pen and paper, record a few thoughts, and then we'll move on. Right. Sorry, before we move on, I hope that you came up with some lovely ideas. This is where I miss being in a classroom where we can just pull together different people's ideas. Remember that we learn so much more when there's more than one head that we put together. And so, yeah, I really am missing that part. But I do hope you came up with some interesting things. I hope you used perhaps a few similes and metaphors in your descriptions. The darkness of the cave is like, or the adventurers are as. Great. So then just a recap from yesterday, just to remind you about the difference between literal language, means exactly what it says. So if we say the grass is green, we're actually meaning the grass is green. But if we're looking at figurative language, we're using those language devices like similes and metaphors from yesterday. Today, you're going to learn about onomatopoeia, personification, and alliteration. And so you can use those as well. And those are used as comparisons or just to make your writing a little bit more imaginative and thoughtful and creative. So example, the grass looks like spiky green hair. That's an example of, good, a simile, using the word like. For example, I've just thought I'll use this opportunity to show you what I'm reading. I'm reading a book called Little Fires Everywhere. So if I show you this picture and I said the title of the book is Little Fires Everywhere, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's a literal use of language. If I was using figurative language, I might say the book is as good as. Now, I can't really tell you because, as you can see, I'm not very far. I've only just started it, but I am enjoying it. It's got me gripped, and I really need to make time this afternoon once I finish teaching today to just delve into my book. I do hope that you've got a book that you're reading, and I know lots of you perhaps don't like to read. Some of you do. Please make use of the things that are available. I know there's a lot of free things that are happening online. So go look, find comics if you don't really like to read a whole book. Find comics, find the Guinness Book of Records, interesting topics. I have got some interesting articles on the coronavirus and other things that are happening at the moment. So what I might do is I might add some articles for you to read at the end of another lesson. But really find something just to delve into. Let's take a look at our first poetic device, our figurative languages. I've put that there because some people use poetic devices, some people use figurative language devices. They are used interchangeably. In other words, you can use either or. But let's stick for today with the figurative language device. So we've already learned about similes and metaphors. Today we're going to look at onomatopoeia, alliteration, and personification. Our first one is onomatopoeia. We're going to start off really easy this morning. It's a sound device. It sounds like the words. So if we look at the words in the block, pop, it actually sounds like it is describing sizzled, meowed, barked, quacked, screeched, clapped, shattering, knocked, fluttered, and zoomed. Lovely words to use. In the exercise here, I'd like you to have your pen and paper, write 1 to 11 on your paper, and just put in the words you're going to use from the top. There are 11 words and 11 sentences, so they fit perfectly. So pause the video at this stage and just quickly fill them in. They are quite easy. Off you go. Right, let's take a look. I hope that you managed to do them. Number 1, the popcorn went pop in the microwave. Number 2, the car quickly screeched around the corner. And just so you know, you can interchange that word with the other car. So we could have said the car quickly zoomed around the corner is also fine. Number 3, the students were chattering in the classroom. Oh, I think most teachers around the country missed that. Number 4, the delivery man knocked on our front door. Number 5, the audience clapped at the end of the play. The dog barked at the intruder. The duck quacked in the lake. The car zoomed past the other car, or screeched past the other car would also be fine. Number 9, the cat meowed when it was happy. The feather fluttered to the ground, and the bacon sizzled on the frying pan. So not too difficult. Let's step it up a little bit. So I want you to take a look at the screen, and on your piece of paper, I want you to write next to these verbs, ticks, belch, swishes, smash, pow, and slurp. I want you to put objects, people or objects. What kind of thing would tick? What kind of thing would belch? A belch is a burp. Swishes, smash, pow, and slurps. What kind of things would do that? Just thinking of a memory, I still call this machine a zhuzher to this day, and it's actually my hand mixer, which I make some of my smoothies with. And I always say to my girls, please get the zhuzher. So that's an example of onomatopoeia. I should really, as an English teacher, use the correct word and say, please bring me the hand mixer. But I just have gotten into the habit, and it's sort of a cute little family thing that we have. Bring me the zhuzher. Anyway, so moving along, that's just a little bit of information, useless. So fill in the objects here, and then what I want you to do is write sentences for each of the above. So once you've got something, whatever it is, please write a sentence with each one. So I should see a sentence with the word ticks, belch, swishes. In your sentences, you should have 6 of them. So again, pause the video, really participate in these. They're going to improve your writing and get you used to using examples of onomatopoeia. So off you go. Right, let's see how you have done. Here are some of my examples. So I just put a clock. I hope you had others. Maybe you had a watch, or for example, I don't know if you can hear the sound. I'm just literally doing that on my desk. That's another ticking sound. I could have done that. Belch, a person or a baby, especially a newborn baby, can belch. Swishes, the washing machine. Smash, glass, mirror, ornament. I see I've changed the other one. That was pow. My apologies. So I've used boom, a door closing, but pow, sort of somebody punching somebody else. And slurps, that sound of sipping through a straw when you get to the end of your glass. And I know it's very rude to do that. My mom used to get so irritated with us as children. So I hope you came up with some interesting ideas. And then your sentences. I hope that you remembered the following. Did you start with a capital letter? Go check. Did you write a complete thought? Remember, we did sentences in one of our first lessons. Is it a complete thought, having a subject and a verb? Did you end with a full stop? Often we just write and then we, get to the end and we forget. And then did you use interesting vocabulary? So instead of using words like nice and bad, did you use interesting, hideous, terrible? Did you up your vocabulary to use powerful words? Okay, I hope that helped you a little bit. We're now just going to look at 2 poems. So the one is actually from the Pied Piper of Hamelin. And ere 3 shrill notes the pipe uttered, you heard as if an army muttered, and the muttering grew to a grumbling, and the grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling, and out of the house the cats came tumbling. Tumbling would also be an example of onomatopoeia, but you can see the ones that we've highlighted in green. And obviously there's a lot of rhyming happening here. Uttered, muttered, grumbling, rumbling, and we will do that in another lesson when we look at poetry and how poems are written, and sometimes they have an actual structure or a rhyme scheme, and sometimes they're just free verse. And then let's look at this one, the game. Clap, clap, stomp, stomp, swish, swish. This is the way we get through our games. The crowd shouts, Yahoo! The ball soars through the air, then bounce, bounce, bounce. The audience holds its breath. Swish! The ball goes in. We win. So some lovely examples of the use of onomatopoeia in poetry. Right, we move on to our next one, which is alliteration. So onomatopoeia is your one sound device, and then we've got alliteration is another one. And what I like to do to try and remember alliteration is the double L. So there's a repeat of a consonant. So here's what alliteration is. It's the repetition of consonant sounds. So if we look at these two examples, I have put a caution because I'm going to show you the difference. The first one, the restless rebels roamed at night. Starting with an R, it's not just the repetition of the letter, it's also the sound. But there's the R sound in all of them. R, R, R. Restless rebels roamed. And then if we look at the second one, Penelope has saved plenty of pennies. Now, sometimes some of you might write that whole sentence down and say that's an example of alliteration. It isn't an example of alliteration if you include the whole sentence. But if you just underline the two that are examples of alliteration, that's absolutely fine. Penelope has saved plenty of pennies. So Penelope and pennies is an example of alliteration, but plenty is not, because that sound is slightly different. So you got penny, Penelope, and penny, and then you got plenty. So the sound, the repetition of the sound is different between the Penelope and the plenty. So it's got two consonants there, and so the sound is slightly different. I wonder if you noticed here, restless rebels roamed. They're right next to each other. Alliteration can be right next to each other, like boom, bam, but it can also be separated by other words like Penelope and pennies, as long as it's the same consonant sound. Right, so let's take a look at it in practice. Go gather green leaves in the garden. There's an example of alliteration. Is the whole thing alliteration? Look carefully. Just think about what we spoke about before. Good. So go gather and garden would be your example of alliteration. But green, can you see the go and the grr? The grr sound is different to the rest. Go gather garden is the G sound, and then the grr creates a different sound. And so only if you underlined the others would it be an example of alliteration. And then come and clean your closet. Another example. Come and clean your closet. Come is not a part of the alliteration, but clean and closet, they've got the same sound, consonant sound. Clean and closet. And then please put your plate away. There we go. Please and plate. Put would not be a part of that because it's got a different sound. The please and the plate and the put hasn't got the PL sound. I hope you're getting that. Right, so let's take a look. We're going to step it up a little bit now as well. We're in grade 6. Add a noun to each word to create a phrase that uses alliteration. So passive people. That's an example with a P. I want you to think of serious and something else to go with it. Must start with an S. Gorgeous, something, hideous, something, soothing, something, tempting, something, adventurous, something, and rattling, something. And obviously they're going to be your nouns or your proper nouns. So take a moment to pause the video. These are quite tough. I'll come back and we'll go through some of the examples I've found. Don't cheat and skip ahead. Right, let's go on and see how you've done. Right, you can have a passive parrot. So I gave you some clues here at the bottom. Or passive passengers who sit on the train passively. Passive means you just, go with the flow. You don't really fight or get involved. You just sit there quietly. Serious sentence. So a serious sentence or a serious song. The sound is repeated there, the consonant sound. Gorgeous goat or gorgeous gate. Hideous hiding place. That one was quite tough. Soothing soup or a soothing song. Tempting tea or tempting toast. And yes, I'm always tempted by having a piece of toast with peanut butter and syrup. One of my favorite things. Adventurous adverts. Rattling rattle or a rattling rake or a rattling ring or a rattling rattlesnake. How did you do? So let's now look at an example of, again, some poems that use alliteration. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there was a tapping. So there's the repetition of the sound, the N, nodded, nearly napping, the N sound, and then bear in there. I love this one. There's a polar bear in our Frigidaire. He likes it cause it's cold in there. With his seat in the meat and his face in the fish, and his big hairy paws in the buttery dish. He's nibbling the noodles, he's munching the rice, he's slurping the soda, he's licking the ice. And he lets out a roar if you open the door, and it gives me a scare to know he's in there. That polar bear in our Frigidaire. So yes, love that nibbling noodles and face and fish. And some lovely use of it in that poem Bear in there. Right, we move on to personification. So the ones we've just done now, alliteration and onomatopoeia, are sound devices. They're still figurative language devices, but they're to do with sound. Personification is slightly different. This is one of my favorites, and I love to highlight this part, person, for you to remember personification, person. So it's giving human qualities or person qualities to animals or objects. And we know that that's not literal. So for example, if I said the stars winked at me, that's not literal language. The stars can't actually wink, but I'm using my figurative creativity. The stars winked at me. Lovely use of personification. Then this next one, the flame. I'm just trying to find my cursor. There we go. The flame of the candle danced in the wind. The flame can't dance, but I love how it's dancing. And you know when you've lit a candle, how it moves like that. Beautiful imagery there. And then we look at this. I know that clouds aren't people, but they're looking glum today. So I say that they are pouting as I watch the sky turn grey. Love it. Clouds can't look glum or sad, and they can't definitely pout. And if I look out the window today, not very cloudy here in Johannesburg, but lovely, lovely day. Now the sky is not a person, but I feel its raindrop tears. So I say that it is crying, and then the sun appears. So can the sky cry? No, it can't. But lovely image that we get from that. And then the last one, the sun is not a person, but its warmth spreads like a grin. So I say the sun is shining, and the sky cheers up again. So the sun can't shine, but lovely way of using inanimate objects to give them a person quality or a human quality. So I hope you'll remember as we go through, we're dealing with something having a person or a human quality. So let's jump right in. So let's take a look at this. The soft chair wrapped its padded arms around Lisa. I love that. You know those armchairs? Can you imagine an armchair wrapping its arms around somebody? Lovely use. An armchair can't wrap its arms around somebody, but lovely. So I want you to take a look at these. There's 8 of them, and all you need to do is 1 to 8 on your sheet, and you'll just give it a tick. Yes, it's an example of personification, or no, it's just a normal sentence. So 1 to 8, pause the video, and then we'll come back and go through it together. So make sure you read them carefully. Is something in that sentence making use of a person quality? So if you think of Beauty and the Beast, where the teacups and the candlestick are all talking, that's an example of personification. So pause the video, and then we'll go through it together. Right, there we go. The dog barked loudly at the kitten, which quickly ran up the tree. That's just a normal sentence. A dog can bark loudly, and a kitten can quickly run up a tree. Nothing to do with that one. Number 2, the clouds wept. Clouds can't cry. Lovely imagery there, so that is personification. Number 3, the stairs groaned in agony as Pierre carried the heavy boxes to the bedroom. Can stairs actually go, ooh, no, they can't. So stairs can't groan. So I love that use. It is an example of personification. Number 4, the wind blew steady for a week. The wind can blow, so nothing to do with personification there. Number 5, as we dragged the couch across the room, deep scratches appeared on the floor. I'm sorry, I would say that that's not. I know there's a tick there, but I wouldn't say that it's an example of personification. There's nothing there. The couch is not doing something that's showing that it's got a person quality. Number 6, the change sang happily in Mal's pocket. Yes. Can change or coins sing? No, they can't. But it's that jingling sound in somebody's pocket. Lovely comparison. Number 7, the week before the party seems very long to Juliet. No, nothing there. That's showing personification. And then the number 8, the yacht sailed smoothly across the calm blue ocean. Nothing there. to do with personification. The yacht isn't doing something that's showing it's got a person quality. I wonder if you see in number 8, just while we're here, sailed smoothly. Is that an example of alliteration? I hope you said no, because sailed and smooth, remember the SM, 2 consonants next to each other, SM's got a different sound to sailed. Well done. Right, and now we're almost at the end of our lesson, so let's take a look at a poem, Worldwide Webbing. I'm going to read it to you, and then we'll go through. www. Here I come, ready or not. Logging on, but not in yet, going to surf the internet. Singing down the telephone line, electric vibes align. Zapping through the atmosphere to the server in the air. There beyond HTTP, magic pages wait for me. Amazing info you can get, surfing through the internet. Homepage, chat rooms, ads and news, many sites from which to choose. Look it up if you forget, it's all there on the internet. Windows on the world unfurl with an address that's URL. And I've learned my netiquette for surfing on the net. So just a lovely poem about the World Wide Web. I love being able to Google something when I'm not sure. So if you also are stuck, just remember to check with mom and dad, but Google things to find out what they mean if you're stuck, like the word belched. Right, so let's take a look. The words that are underlined, I wonder if you can think about what kind of figurative language device they are. So, singing down the telephone lines, this one, the electric vibes align, zapping through the atmosphere, windows on the world unfurl, the heading, World Wide Webbing. Right, so what did you think about those? Take a moment, think about what figurative language device they are. Okay, so singing down the telephone line, electric vibes align. So electric vibes can't sing down, or the internet can't sing down the telephone line, electric vibes align. They can't sing. So that's an example of a person quality or a human quality, personification. Good. Zapping through the atmosphere. Good. That was an easy one. That zap sound, you can actually almost hear the electricity through the line. And then windows on the world unfurl. There's your example of alliteration, windows and world. And obviously our heading was an example of that as well. Worldwide webbing. Great. Right, so there's just the poem without anything underlined. And then we've come to the end. So can you define what onomatopoeia, alliteration, and personification is? So onomatopoeia, it's a sound device, a figurative language device. So the word sounds like it is written. So meow, bam, crash, snap. Alliteration, that's the repetition of consonant sounds. So like she shall shop. Okay, but not she sells, because the S sound, the SH and the SE, not the same consonant sound. Personification is the use of giving human qualities or person qualities to objects or inanimate objects. And then can you identify them in writing like we did now in our last poem? Right, so we've come to the end. So when you click and close this video, you'll see there are going to be some activities for you to do to recap. And then again, don't forget to send me any questions to grade6@worksheetcloud.com. Questions about today's lesson, so onomatopoeia, personification, and alliteration. And remember, I'd love to see some of those diary entries if you're willing to share. And so thanks for joining us, grade 6s. I will see you tomorrow. And remember, it's the same time, same place. Bye, everybody.